says all over the world, our first speaker tonight, or 24 hours meeting, is Toastmaster Paul Malone. His speech title, Pozole. Pozole, Toastmaster Paul Malone.
What do the holidays taste like? Are they sweet? Are they savory? Or are they a bit of both, like pumpkin pie? I imagine that every country, every region, every family has its own unique holiday taste. For me, the holidays do taste like pumpkin pie and sweet potatoes and hams and yams, sugar cookies and eggnog, but also like pozole. Pozole. You see, every year when my mother made this spicy Mexican soup, pozole, I knew it was the holidays. I knew it was the Christmas season. Pozole is made with a red chili base instead of chicken or pork. And when I say chili, I don't mean Texas chili. It's a different spelling, it's a different taste, it's a different thing altogether. It's red chili, C-H-I-L-E. The soup itself is spicy red. And then we can add pork and big pieces of white corn. And when it's served, we top it with avocado and cheese and lots of oregano. My mother was a fantastic cook. I can see her right now in her capri pants in the kitchen, making everything from scratch. And the house would fill up with that earthy corn smell and that peppery aroma. When I was younger, I really didn't appreciate what a great cook she was. I remember asking her one time, "Mom, why is my grandmother's cooking so much better than yours?" "Maybe it's the water in her house. The water in her house must be better." And my mother just smiled and shook her head and looked at me as if to say, "It's the water, huh?" But she never got too angry because at least I didn't say my dad's mom was a better cook. But after eating at friends' houses and relatives' houses, I grew wise to my mother's cooking talents. And I began to appreciate what a great cook she was. And I thought that it would be like that forever. But about 10 years ago, I started to notice that the Christmas feasts started to get smaller and smaller. She just wasn't cooking that much anymore. And finally, she turned over all cooking responsibilities for the Christmas dinner to my brother and my sister-in-law. About 6 years ago, my father fell, and my brother had to fly from Maryland, where he lived, to New Mexico. The first thing the doctor said to him was, "Your father is going to be fine. It's your mother I'm worried about." He confirmed what we had already known for a while. She had dementia. Her short-term memory was just gone, and she couldn't remember how to do basic things anymore. And her deteriorating cooking skills were a sign of that. So my brother just packed my parents up and moved them across the country from New Mexico to Maryland so he can be near them. When I first visited them in 2016 in their new house over the Christmas holiday, I was really amazed by my brother. The house was beautiful. For the first time, my mother had a real fireplace where she could hang stockings, and she decorated the mantle with candles and Christmas garland. She had this big space for a huge Christmas tree. And outside, there was snow. It was a white Christmas. Everything was perfect, except the food. We had restaurant takeout and fast food and family-sized lasagna trays from Costco. It was all good and I was grateful, but I wanted something more home. So on my last full day in the States, I decided I'm going to make pozole. So I said, "Come on, Mom, get in the car. We're going to Walmart. My mother loves Walmart. And while we were there, she started to get confused. And she said, why are we here? We're going to make pozole. But I don't want pozole. I know, dear, but I want it and I'm going to make it. We went around the store and surprisingly, we were able to find all the ingredients in Maryland. And my mother looked in the basket and once again she asked, why are we buying this? To make pozole. I'm not going to make pozole. And I said, I know, dear, I'm going to do it. We had many slightly variations of that same conversation until we got home. And I started to cook. I got the garlic and I started to chop very, very slowly. My mother has never been a patient woman. And she said, geez, let me do it. And she took over. My plan had worked. Watching her cut the vegetables like a sous chef, brown the pork and prepare the base, and watching her make that chili so that she could pour it in and make it that nice spicy red. It was amazing. If you had been there, you would have felt the chili tickle your nose. I started sneezing, a sign of a really good pozole. When she was done, we sat at the Christmas table, just the two of us with our bowls, the Christmas lights of the tree twinkling behind us. It was just amazing. It was heaven. It was the perfect Christmas meal. Later, I realized that that was the last thing my mother ever cooked for me. She's in an assisted living center now, and she doesn't cook at all anymore. But if I had known that, I would have really taken the time to savor that bowl of pozole, to enjoy every single second. What do the holidays taste like to you? This year, I ask you to pay special appreciation to the person or to the people who love you enough to cook for you. And when you're eating your favorite dish, really linger on every flavor and every texture. And let's not forget the people who don't have enough to eat this year. Let's make sure that everyone has a nice Christmas dinner. Fellow Toastmasters, what do the holidays taste like to you? Toastmaster.
Toastmaster Anne. Title is All I Want for Christmas. All I Want for Christmas, Toastmaster Anne.
December 13 of last year, I was single and willing to mingle, a lady in distress, waiting for a delayed flight at the airport for a Toastmasters gathering going to Cebu, Philippines. Yes, I was last year's district director of District 75, hoping and wishing to find the one. And that was all I want for Christmas. Fellow Toastmasters, friends, and guests, good day. Just like most of the single hopeful members of the Lonely Hearts Club of Toastmasters, I was waiting for that one true love. In fact, our district theme last year was One for the District, inspired by finding the one. I was nearing 40 years old, but still, no special someone. No special someone to spend the holidays. No holidays except for my family and friends. And I have been praying every night with the list of the characteristics I wanted in a man, for my man. And I was told by a good friend, his name is Sassy Casas, that if I wanted something intensely, jot down everything that I wanted. Jot down everything and include it in your prayers. So, since I wanted to find that one, my prayer was very specific. A man who will love me, respect me, accept me for who I am, with a stable job and income, who knows how to handle his finances well, who loves his family and gives respect as well to my family, who takes care of himself, athletic, fit, can make me laugh, whom I can talk to at serious times, who can get along with my friends, a prayerful man who has the same religion as I do. Every bit of detail was mentioned in my prayer every night before going to sleep. And I guess with the load I had in the leadership role, I got tired of reciting the prayers and surrendered one day. I just said, Lord, you know, the desires of my heart. And I know you have plans greater than I do. I'm willing to wait. Just prepare him well and make sure I'm still alive. Because that's all I want for Christmas. And so, one fateful Monday morning of December 16, a Toastmaster acquaintance named Mike asked me if by chance I wanted to go and try out a firing range with him. And at that time, my only free schedule was the following day, December 17. And as the week was, because the week was bombarded with various Christmas parties at work and with groups. This was during the pre-COVID days, right? So upon checking my calendar, I agreed to hang out with him on December 17. And this was us there. You can see it. This was us during the firing range. There. See? See the targets and all. There you have it. I'll stop sharing now. And I was surprised to be out and enjoy the time with a guy who still has not lost chivalry. He picked me up from the office. He opened the door for me. He paid for our bill. We enjoyed our table topic session over bottles of beer, as you've seen earlier. We enjoyed our time together. And to cut the long story short, we never stopped talking since then. We never stopped communicating via messenger, phone calls, hanging out after office hours. We were inseparable. And we decided to commit it to each other on the morning of December 24. Yes, the one I have been waiting for suddenly came along. It was a Christmas gift that I never expected. That was all I want for Christmas. Fellow Toastmasters, we are nearing our first year anniversary this year. As they say that true love, falling in love is easy, but staying in love is very special. Because despite the challenges that came over the past months, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, the death of relatives and friends, I got issued a retirement after a 15-year job tenure just recently, a couple of months ago. On top of our personality adjustments, Mike and I managed to keep our love alive. And next year, we'll be preparing for the next chapter of our life. Hopefully, we will, not hopefully, but we will tie the knot so that by December 25 of 2021, we will be spending our Christmas holidays together with family and friends in our house, and yes, give the sweetest and longest kisses under the mistletoe. I invite every hopeful loveless Toastmaster who's present in this room to be patient and believe that love will come and find a way at the right moment and at the right time. Because the best feeling in the world is to be loved back by the person that you love. Keep on living and never stop loving. Back to you, Toastmaster Ree.
Toastmaster Jessica. Her speech title, Welcome to My Debut. Welcome to my debut, Toastmaster Jessica.
Thank you, Toastmasters around the world. So In addition to finding love, what is the best gift you have ever received? Can you remember? Can you remember as a child or as an adult? But more importantly, what is the best gift you've ever given yourself? Sometimes around the holidays, we tend to forget ourselves in all the sales and all the wondrous things that we get to do when we're out shopping. We think of all the things we want to get our children, our spouse, our parents, our friends, and oftentimes we forget ourselves. Today, I ask you, if you were to buy a gift for yourself, what would it be? Or maybe it's something that you began a lifetime ago. Fellow Toastmasters, today I am going to give you a sneak peek into something that has culminated over the last 40 years, something I didn't know I was doing until this year. This year, I realized I would be giving myself a Christmas gift. And honestly, I didn't intend for it to even be a Christmas gift because I didn't think of it like that. I thought of it as a final culmination to something I've been working on my whole life. I'm going to be opening my business on January 1st, 2021. And it's a business that is comprised of all of the attributes and skills and loves that I have culminated over my entire life. I didn't know all of the loves, all of the challenges, all of the triumphs, all of the fails. Everything that has happened in my life was actually a lesson and a template. I just thought it was life. Everybody, it happens. It is what it is, whatever. I became a mother 17 years ago. I became a military spouse, a Marine Corps spouse, 18 years ago. Had no idea that those two decisions in my life would ultimately be the foundation of the company I will open shortly. Those two things have allowed me to become an ambassador of the world. I've traveled to Japan twice, I've been in the States, and I've met people all around the world. I've been a college student for almost 22 years. I didn't know that that experience in itself would bring me to learn such massive amount of beautiful information and meet amazing professors and students around the world. I didn't know that my life was creating my journey. As I created my journey, I had no idea it was creating my dream. My dream to open my business to allow others to learn how to strategically put in place their dreams. I didn't know that I would be giving something of myself that I have been cooking, just like the delicious pozole we all visually ate a few minutes ago. I didn't realize I would be deliciously cooking something I would be able to give somebody else. My company is something that is literally in the United States we have a phrase called jack of all trades, master of none. That is me. I know how to do anything and everything because I've had to learn how to do it with the lifestyle choices that I've made by being a mother and a spouse, a military spouse. Over the years, I've become more confident. I wasn't as confident when I was younger, even when I was newly married. I didn't understand, I didn't know the power of confidence. Now, as I sit before you, I am confident to know and say I will be opening my business on January 1st, and I will be okay, and it will be good. I am also much more confident in embracing my natural leadership ability. It's okay for someone to call you passionate, even though really that's not a positive thing. I'm okay. You can call me passionate. I am. I love how to do everything, and I know how to do it, and I know that I'm good at it. I also love how my identity that I have found over my travels, over my triumphs, over my fails, and over my wins have identified who I am and who I'm comfortable becoming and being. As I realized I was on my journey and it was engulfing my dream is now the reason why I'm able to have my debut. My debut is something that I've been waiting and cultivating all these years. I am a natural teacher, and my experience in my journey has given me the confidence to be able to teach. However, I am also confident that I don't want to teach you something you already know. I want to be with you as you strategize and make that better. I'm going to be able to take all of your things that you want to do and you want to be because you want to become something, something maybe you've always wanted, but maybe you didn't know. And that's okay. I'm going to be with you right beside you, taking you and being able to make you be able to say one day, today is my someday. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Rachel with her speech title, Joe and Flo Come to Christmas. Joe and Flo come for Christmas. Rachel Lawson.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Christmas in Australia is a very hot and steamy affair. No, literally, it's a very hot and steamy place to live at Christmas. As an Australian child growing up in Christmas, we were always very lightly dressed and put in front of the TV. We were also placed in front of fans if we were not lucky enough to have air conditioning. And at this point, we would have to sit in front of the fan and watch North American children wear things like sweaters. And I said to my mum, "Mum, what's a sweater?" And my mum said, "Rachel, that's that woolly jumper thing we make you wear in August for a couple of days." In Australia, we don't wear sweaters at Christmas. We just sweat a lot. Swimming pools. You might think if you live in the north or in a cold country that a swimming pool is a luxury. It isn't. It's a necessity. In fact, if you live in Australia, in Queensland, you must have a swimming pool. And if you are not lucky enough to have a swimming pool in Brackenridge, in Brisbane, you must make friends with someone who does. And you must go to their house at Christmas and enjoy this necessity, even if you don't like them. Now, if you are the lucky person to have a swimming pool at Christmas, it's very un-Australian and not very Christmassy to not have your unexpected guests drop in. Another thing about Australian Christmases is what's the deal with the pumpkin? Have you ever tried to buy a pumpkin in October or November or December in Australia? They're priced at about the same price point as a lobster. If you want to enjoy a pumpkin in Australia for a holiday season, I would suggest Easter or Anzac Day. And in fact, one particular delicious treat that we often share in Australia is Flo Bjelke-Petersen's pumpkin scone. Now, for those of you who don't know who Joe and Flo are, Joe Bjelke-Petersen was the wife of Queensland's Premier, or in other words, the governor of the state in the 80s. They were a bit of a power couple. And for us, we really, really enjoyed Joe and Flo's pumpkin scones. I'll put the recipe in the chat. This particular year, though, talking about unexpected guests in Queensland and at Christmas, Australians have to deal with lots of unexpected guests. We have to deal with the spiders, the Christmas beetles, and of course, the cane toads. You think cane toads? Just picture this. A cane toad is like a frog and a toad and Jabba the Hutt, all mushed into one. And these beautiful cane toady froggy things infest your backyard in Australia at Christmas. It just happens. It's one of these things. This particular year, though, my brother came out at about 9:30 at night to have another dip in the swimming pool. That's particularly normal for Australian children to swim at night in swimming pools at Christmas. It's the only thing you can really do, other than eat cubed cheese and chopped up cabanossi and other weird treats like prawns. No one really has a hot dinner. You might if your grandmother talks you through it. The other thing we have to do, though, is my poor brother that day walks out to have a swimming pool, a quick little swim in his pool at 9:30 at night, only to find all of the backyard shimmering with cane toads. no joke, cane toads, these huge bestial creatures just flopping everywhere. And he couldn't understand it. There were literally about 100. If you've ever seen cane toads, I say just get in there and Google it. I won't shock you now, it's too disgusting. Just imagine hundreds of little Jabba the Hutts running around everywhere. The things are as big as a house cat. They really are. They're huge, they're loud, and they're disgusting. And this year, our two particular favourite toads, Joe and Flo, as we like to call them, because they were Queensland's premier power couple, indeed had the backyard to themselves, and then invited 100 guests. And poor Joe, the male cane toad, was sitting in our swimming pool. Where was Flo? Well, Flo had gone over the fence into next door neighbours Brad and Charlene's spa. Now, a spa is also a necessity. Northern Europeans and Northern Americans, you might call it a jacuzzi or a hot tub. It's also a necessity in Australia, in Queensland, in summer. Where else are you going to have a disco and your cocktails while still staying in a swimming pool? You have to have a spa. The other thing we noticed with Joe and Flo was that Flo was in the party pond, as the cane toads like to call it, and Joe was in our swimming pool. How could the two meet? My brother said, this is too noisy. I can't sleep with all these cane toads. I have an idea, which he did. He went into the garage and he came back out with a bag of golf clubs. Picture this, golf clubs, 12-year-old boy, 100 cane toads. Again, 100 cane toads, golf clubs, 12-year-old boy. What could you do? What do you think was going to happen? My brother pulls out the 9-iron. The 9-iron. If you don't get golf, it's one of those things from Game of Thrones. And my mother comes out and goes, oh, Mark, that's horrible. You can't do that to the cane toads. He had every idea of getting 100 golf swings in before he went to bed. My mother said, that's so cruel. Don't use a 9-iron. Use a wedge. And at that point, my brother said, great idea, Mum. And he pulled out a wedge and he said, awesome, I'm going to use that wedge. So he did. And he got the wedge and he got Joe on top of the wedge and he swung that wedge around so hard that it was like a bull roarer or some sort of weird shot put. And poor Joe the cane toad flew over the fence into the next door neighbour's spa. And Joe and Flo were reunited. And then the other 100 little guests went and visited Brad and Charlene's house. And we all had a lovely, lovely sleep. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Peter Crosby with his speech, Stepping Stones to Success. Stepping Stones to Success, Peter Crosby.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. The most successful holiday I ever went on was on board a ship, this ship. There you can see it leaving Sydney Harbour. That was 45 years ago. I'll return to the SS Sobinov a little bit later. But what is success? When I was younger, success for me meant one thing, academic achievement. Sounds boring. But I was Dutch at my school, I had first-class honours at university, but after that, in hindsight, my life was fairly mediocre. I had a fairly mediocre house, fairly mediocre job, fairly mediocre car. My life was fairly mediocre. But then, over time, things graduated more to being successful. I was getting promoted to more interesting work. I went on more interesting holidays. I met more interesting people. I was taking on leadership roles. Instead of being a member of a club, I was starting to become the president of a club. And in Toastmasters, progressed in Toastmasters. I've now been married for 40 years, which is a success in my mind. And also, we have 3 amazing adult children and 6 fantastic grandchildren who really inspire me. They give me great joy. Christopher Morley said, to be a successful life means that you can do what you choose to do. And I think that's a good indication of whether your life is successful. On that cruise I mentioned, the reason it was so successful was I met this person. And in the words of Dhananjaya Hettiarachchi, she saw something in me, but she didn't know what it was. Success, my mentor says, success begins with a dream. And success is a compelling awareness of what could or should be in your life, together with a realization that you need to do something about it. You need to take action. So my first stepping stone to success is have a dream. Well, how do you activate your success? Well, I like to move towards success with daily habits. Daily habits. Now, in this festive season that we're coming up to, when I reflect on it, there was a 20-year period where I actually put on 20 kilograms of weight. And I can put that down to the Australian Christmas festive seasons. Now, every Christmas, Australian Christmas, we have lots to eat and lots to drink. In my case, I did it twice a year. So I'd have the Australian Christmas, and then I'd celebrate Russian Orthodox Christmas with my wife's family, where they had way too much to eat and way too much to drink. So with about 15 years ago, I was told, Peter, you need to lose weight or you are going to have serious problems. So finally, about 6 years ago, with the help of a wonderful dietitian, I adopted some daily habits, things like having the right amount of the right type of food at the right time of day, and measuring my weight, measuring my blood pressure, getting exercise on a regular basis, and taking my medication, supplements, vitamins, meditation. All these things help, but doing them on a daily basis is what actually helped the most. So my second stepping stone to success is consistent daily habits. And since that time, I've dropped 12 kilograms consistently lower than I was 6 years ago. Well, having spoken about success, I'd now like to talk about failure. Now, the opposite of success is not failure, it's quitting. Quitting is like not even starting. If you give up, you might as well not have started. In my case, my mediocrity, if you like, was, in a sense, giving up on my dream. I didn't have big enough dreams. But failure is like stepping stones, milestones, gateways on your journey to success. Abraham Lincoln said, the formula to success is to try until you succeed. And the Australian winemaker, Wolf Blass, said even better. He said, I always failed positively again and again and again until I succeeded. So the main thing with failure is to learn the lessons from failure. So learning lessons proves that you're moving forward. So my third stepping stone to success is to learn from your failures. Well, what can take you away from success? Distractions. I had way too many distractions. I had doing too many things with family and work and sport, community, you name it. But now I only have two priorities, my family and prosperity. Prosperity for myself, prosperity for the people in my life, prosperity for future generations, and prosperity for the community in which I live. And travel for me is like a holiday with a purpose. It's not a distraction for me. I like spending time with my wife, Kate. I like to learn about other places and countries and cultures. And I love spending time in nature. So that's the purpose that I travel. But of course, the main distractions these days, there's so many of them: social media, negative people, too many priorities, like I mentioned, the news, and of course, the mobile phones. I mean, the mobile phones these days, they're like a distraction distillery. And sorry, I was just distracted. Where was it? Oh, yes. So the fourth distraction, the fourth stepping stone to success is to step away from your distractions and towards your destination. So summing up, we have the festive season coming up. So I'd encourage you to use the holidays to improve your chances of success. Stepping stone number one, have your dreams, set your priorities, but no more than 3. Daily habits. Have daily habits that are gradually moving towards your destination, your goal. Learn from your failures, and step away from your distractions towards your destination. The final word goes to Sir Winston Churchill when he said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Madam Toastmaster, back to you.
Harini Sundaramurthy with her speech, "Why should I cook every day? Why should I cook every day?" Harini Sundaramurthy. Let's welcome.
Thank you, Madam Toast. When you think of holidays or festive season, what pops up in your mind? Four-letter word, food, right? 100%. Food binds people together, whereas holidays binds people and food together. Ladies and gentlemen, who cooks at your place? I used to cook every single day because I have no choice. I'm a great cook, but I don't cook every single day now. Let me tell you a story. It was a dinner time last summer holiday. My table was filled with chicken curry, fish curry, dal makhani, raita, roti, and papadam. Now you guys guess where I'm from. Yay, good guess, good guess. Dinner is a time to sit back, relax, chit-chat, and eat. During dinner, all I heard was complaints. I have 2 children. My son, Sudi. "Mom, can you stop cooking this rice and curry every day? It's boring. Instead, can you make some pizza or even burger? I can't eat this boring curry every day." Then my daughter, Vaishu, she jumped in. "Stop craving junk food, bro. Mom, can you just make something different? I can't eat this crap every day." Gosh. Hey guys, look at your dad. He never complains. He always enjoys my curries. Am I right, darling? He calmly revealed, "That's what you think." Ouch! The whole family ganged up on me, and I was insulted. Rather stop cooking. I wanted to teach them a lesson. Can't mess with me. As I'm a Toastmaster, I love to hear constructive feedback, but not complaints. I was thinking, how can I fix these people? Ladies and gentlemen, back to my story. While we were eating, I asked them, "Guys, you should improve your communication skill. How to speak and how to give feedback. Come and join our Toastmaster. You should see the reaction. Oh my God, they shocked. Public speaking? No way. Instead of public speaking, we can do anything else." And I was waiting for this moment to come. I gave them only 2 choices: speaking or cooking. Guess what they actually picked? Cooking. Let me tell you how I manipulated my children to get up and learn cooking. Wait and see. Just like our speech craft, I designed cooking craft at my place, 5 weeks program. My program consisted of 3 sessions. Session 1, challenge your taste buds. Challenge your taste buds. This is done just like our prepared speech. They can cook anything what they wanted to eat. They always refer the recipe from YouTube. So they cook and demonstrate in front of me. Second part, impromptu cooking. These were one of the nerve-wracking sessions. As I threw random ingredients on the table, they had to pick and cook something in 30 minutes. Impromptu cooking, pressure test. My third session, evaluation, test time. Whenever I got a chance to evaluate their dish, I always give positive sugar-coated feedback, even though the dish was terrible. Hang on. If I criticize them, then they will not come back to my kitchen again. My intention was to motivate them to become a great cook, just like me. As the days went by, they are pretty keen to pick up every cooking techniques and tricks. Once they mastered their cookery skills, they wanted to showcase. As I'm a chairperson of my family, I organized demo cooking, marathon, cooking marathon. The challenge was they had to cook 4 hours continuously to feed 30 people. That was the challenge. The day finally came. My backyard was crowded with the family and friends. I was a bit nervous how they gonna handle it. To my surprise, they nailed it. Unbelievable. You know what they made? Aussie holiday menu. Meat pies, barbecue chicken, sausage rolls, lamb shank, potato mash, and chocolate pudding for dessert. The presentation was stunning. The color, the taste, the flavor, awesome. I was very impressed with their hidden talents. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier, I used to cook every single day, but not many more, as I trained my children to take care of my kitchen. Since then, no complaints during dinner. I want to tell you one thing. Toastmaster skills can be used and develop, create any champions in any field. Now I'm so excited to see what they gonna make this holiday. Back to Madam Chair.
I'm sure successful. Yeah. So now let us welcome Yvonne P to the stage. Her project title is He Knows. He Knows, Yvonne P. Over to you now.
Hey, Yvonne, have you been assigned a mentor? Oh, I'll be her mentor? Wait, what? This serious-looking, middle-aged, specky man volunteered to be my mentor. It was my very first club meeting as a Toastmaster. The club president approached me and asked if I have been assigned a mentor. And this man volunteered himself. I know this man. He's one of the past club presidents. I've seen him delivering a speech during the last meeting when I attended as a guest. His speech was okay, quite funny. But why did he volunteer to be my mentor? I was about to ask that young man, which everyone calls champion, to be my mentor. And now I'm stuck with this uncle. I thought having a mentor is just formality. I don't think this guy is going to create any impact on my Toastmaster journey anyway. I'll just observe how others do it, and I'll do it my way. 2 weeks later, I was supposed to deliver my icebreaker speech in the meeting. As a corporate trainer with more than 10 years of speaking experience, I never felt so nervous before. I was having butterflies in my stomach. My speech was supposed to be funny. What if they don't laugh at my jokes? What if I forget my lines? Will I look stupid? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. My mentor spotted my nervousness from far. He knows. He walked towards me, tapped me on my shoulder and said, "Don't worry so much. Don't stress yourself. Just be natural. Tell your stories and have fun." Okay, his encouragement did help a little. I delivered my speech as natural as I can. And guess what? I won my very first Best Project Speaker Award. At the end of the meeting, he came to me and congratulated me and started giving me feedback without me even asking. While I was listening to him talk, I realized he knows. He knows what's going on with me. His feedback was so on point, genuine, and sincere. Few days later, he came to my office and asked me how I plan to do my Pathway Project speeches. I was wondering, why does he have to come to me? I thought mentoring only happens when the protege needed support. All right, since he's here, let's see what he can offer in my preparation of my next speeches. I started with a few questions about crafting my speech, and he started to give me some ideas and coaching. He went on and on. What he said was becoming more and more interesting. As he was talking, I started to realize, this man knows what he's doing. He knows. From time to time, he would look for me and talk to me. He's always so enthusiastic, and he invited me to attend other club meetings, be a contest test speaker, taking up roles in other clubs. When he shared about his experience as a club exco, how taking up district roles enhanced his leadership qualities, I can see how he enjoys contributing his time and energy in supporting others' growth. He shows his leadership through actions. There is always so much of positivity, commitment, and care. I'm amazed by his sincerity in sharing his wisdom and perspective. And most importantly, he does not get paid doing all this. It's all voluntary. He knows what being a Toastmaster really means. He shows me that Toastmaster is not only a platform for me to learn and becoming a great speaker. It is also a platform where leaders are made. Ladies and gentlemen, having him as a mentor may not help me in improving my speaking skills or winning a contest, but he is a real-life demonstration of what it means by being a leader who contributes unconditionally, and this is what we call servant leadership. Leading by putting others before us. How arrogant was I to be judgmental, disrespectful, and unappreciative for someone like him? He is inspiring and motivating, leading by example, and enrolls me into his vision in Toastmasters. As a protege, I learned that mentorship is very important in my Toastmasters journey. No matter how good I think I am, I will have blind spots, and I still need guidance and encouragement from my mentor. Before I end my speech, ladies and gentlemen, how can I not tell you who my mentor is? My guess is you know who I'm talking about. If you would, please unmute yourselves and join me to acknowledge this wonderful gentleman who is currently still enthusiastically being in contribution, and he is in this meeting. He is none other than our District 51 Club Growth Director, distinguished Toastmaster, CY Chong. Woo! CY, thank you for everything. I am grateful to have you, and I'm looking forward to walk further in this journey together with you. Thank you. Back to you.
Toastmaster Saurabh, the stage is yours. All the best.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and Madam Evaluator. Last year, I wanted to take part in my college drama. So I went to the concerned teacher to give my name. She looked at me like this. Why have I never seen you in my class? So to tell you, in my college, almost every student attends the first lecture. And as the first lecture is over, the strength of the class starts to decline. So if there are 40 students in the first lecture, there will be hardly 10 students left in the last lecture. I tried to avoid that conversation. So she said me, okay, Saurabh, try to imitate an actor or deliver a dialogue so that I can judge your acting capabilities. At that time, I knew which actor to imitate to. Any guesses? Anyone, just unmute yourself and tell me.
Nana Patekar for sure.
Amitabh Bachchan.
Nana Patekar for sure.
Shah Rukh Khan. I'm happy to say that.
Rajkumar.
I'm happy to say that.
Kapoor.
All of you are. I imitated Tiger Shroff. Why?
Oh my.
Want to know. He is a brilliant. He's someone like he is a typical Indian Bollywood hero. He got good looks. He has moves and he can dance. He does his own actions. In fact, he is super charming. He got everything except acting. So I acted like someone who's not a very good actor. And in fact, in his almost all of his movies, you'll see just one typical dialogue. And so I also repeated just one of his cliche dialogues. And guess what? I was selected. The teacher then told me she cast for a role. She casted me for a role of a news anchor. Again, any guesses which news anchor? This one is easy. I truly believe that all of you can get this.
Arnab
Goswami.
Noise pollution.
Arnab Goswami.
That's what I was casted for. And to add some masala, she asked me to give that character a touch of Ekta Kapoor. That day, I came to know that from where and from whom Arnab Goswami and Ekta Kapoor are getting their TRPs from. For all my non-Indian friends who don't know these people, trust me guys, you are lucky. Basically, they are renowned television personalities who somehow manages to get the maximum TRP on Indian televisions. Arnab Goswami is a news journalist and anchor come loudspeaker. And Ekta Kapoor is someone who can make an entire daily soap out of just one conversation between two people. If I have to introduce myself, I will say, hi, my name is Saurabh. But if I have to do that same thing in an Ekta Kapoor show, I will be like, hi, something like that. And then my name is, along with that sound in the background. So my teacher wanted me to act like them without any musical effects in the background. In fact, to add something to it, Ekta Kapoor's editors tried to add all sort of effects, video effects that they have learned in the high school and applied just over there. Now imagine someone playing Arnav Goswami in an Ekta Kapoor show. Just imagine. Finally, the D-Day arrived. I went to the stage, all prepared, and went to the stage and took an interview, and it felt like, Mantriji, the nation wants to know, ki aaj, what you are doing. I think my play was way ahead of its time, because at the end of the play, the minister's PA threw me out of the hall. Will Rogers once said that everything is funny as long as it's being done with someone else. There is a lot of knowledge in that quote. But me being me, I will learn whatever I want to learn. So I learned that be that somebody else. Be that somebody else who can laugh on himself. Be that somebody else who can bring a smile on people's faces. Be that somebody else who can make a difference. Thank you. Madam.
Now, without further ado, I would like to hand over the stage to Toastmaster Devang. Toastmaster Devang, hence proved, Toastmaster Devang. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Laksh. The worst thing about betrayal is that it never comes from our enemies, but it comes from our loved ones. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. Today, I will share a story with all of you. A story which is really close to my heart, and a story of immense love and betrayal. Let's begin from where it all started. We both were in the same school, or rather in the same class from the very first day of my school life. And for time being, let's assume this someone to be X. Now, I don't really remember my interactions at that point of time, as I was not grown up. But I somewhat remember that around class 6 or class 7, I realized for the very first time that this bond is not just friendship for me, but something more than that. The first time feeling of someone being more important to you and more special to you, the feeling of happiness and a childlike bliss, I could feel that. We would meet daily in our classes, and also we would talk after our school. As years passed, our bond grew stronger and stronger, and we were really close to each other. And maybe I also started realizing that I was in love. We all come to this realization at one point or the other, as we spend many years with someone. There's a reason why we go back to that someone special, even after having so many other options, and feel happy with even the smallest of conversations. Slowly, years passed, and we reached class 9. Our bond was stronger than ever. But something happened that year. Something strange happened. We had our first fight. The fight which made me really, really tense and worried, and I was shocked on how this happened. But as we say, some fights are really important to make you realize the importance of someone special in your life. And that is what happened in our case. We quickly sorted our misunderstandings and became more close to each other. And then we moved to class 10th. Now, till this time, I was pretty much grown up. And I was really sure about my feeling that I really loved her. So you must be thinking that did I confess? But sorry, I did not. Since I never wanted to ruin our friendship and didn't know the feelings from her side, because I think all will agree that we as a gender are pretty bad at understanding signals and signs. Then came the time for our 10th board exams. We both did very well and brilliantly and supported each other very, very well. Then came the time where your friends move away from each other. But our bond was so strong that we never lost contact and remained close to each other. The time I spent with her passed so smoothly that I never realized how I passed 11th and came the time for our 12th boards. Now in 12th boards was the first major testing time of our so close bond and my love for her. But the time I wanted her to support came the first betrayal. On 21st March 2018, my love, my first love, and my favorite subject, mathematics, betrayed me for the very first time. I was really, really disheartened as to how this happened. Now, my mathematics, yes, the someone you assumed X at the beginning is my favorite subject, mathematics. I couldn't believe how this happened. And the time I wanted my favorite subject to support me the most, it betrayed me. And it betrayed me bad. So at first, I thought that it was just a phase. But this happened again to me in my JEE exams attempt. The subject I like to call as my strength somehow becomes the weakest subject on the D-Day. And I still can't figure out why. After 2 to 3 failed attempts, I started thinking that is it really the subject I love or the subject I like to call as my strength? Is it? But I sat down and I knew that this was the subject I loved and I sticked on it. After 12, I joined BCom and we parted ways for some time. And then, to my happiness, we met again for my first CAT attempt. But I would like you to know that the 2 years where we were not close, the respect and love for my subject never really lessened. We met again. We used to talk daily and spend some beautiful moments together. Again, I was very confident about my subject. But again, on the D-Day came again a betrayal. My favorite subject again betrayed me and I was disheartened again. I couldn't figure out for days why this happened. But at the end, I came to a conclusion that whatever happens, this subject is the subject I love and it is my strength. I love doing this and I will not lose hope. And I came to a conclusion that one day, after all this differentiation, we would finally integrate. One day, we would integrate without limits. We would integrate where my love would tend to infinity. One day, we will be on the same equation where the LHS will be equal to RHS. And on that day, I could finally say with full confidence that my love for maths is hence proved. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster Irana.
Okay. Our first speaker is the most elegant person I know. She carries herself and her speech with exceptional grace and elegance. Her delivery style will leave you hankering for more speeches from her. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker for the day, Toastmaster Hasna Kukadi. Her speech title is Lagum, not too little, not too much. Toastmaster Hasna Kukadi.
Thank you, TMOD Forum, for those kind words. A very good afternoon here from Muscat to all of you all over the world. The Atkins diet, the keto diet, the GM diet, the paleo diet, the raw food diet, the list of diet plans that you can come across these days is endless. I am sure that a vast majority of you sitting there have thought at some point in time in your life that you need to lose a little bit of weight and have turned to one of these plans? What is common about these plans is that they are all restrictive. They don't allow you to do something. You can't cook your food. You cannot use oil. You have to drink your cabbage. Absolutely no rice. It just goes on and on and on. Let me confess, I have also been sucked into these things. But at this moment in time, I follow a very simple diet, a very simple but not very effective, I have to warn you. It's called the seafood diet. Have you heard of it? Do you think it involves a lot of fish? No. The simple mantra is, you see food, you eat it. Very simple, not very effective. I did warn you. When I discuss my latest fads with my mother, not so old but very wise, she listens to me tight-lipped with a very skeptical look on her face. After I have finished explaining my new trend, she has only 3 words to say to me. Everything in moderation. When my brother embraced and embarked on a diet which involved eating 14 egg whites in the morning with absolutely no carbohydrates, she had the same skeptical look and the same 3 words. Everything in moderation. Now, what happens is you realize as time goes by, as I work through multiple eating styles during my 20s and my 30s, I realized that these restrictive diets do not work. They bring your cravings and your desires to a zenith that in the end, you just give up at some point in time and you go on a binging spree. My brother realized soon enough that in spite of the 14 egg whites, he was binging on truckloads of carbohydrates. My mother still had the same skeptical look on her face. I realized that in the end, I hate to admit this, but she was right. Anything that was excessive or restrictive could not be sustained. Let's take the example of exercise. I spoke to my husband and told him that I'm going to join the gym to battle the bulge. He copied the skeptical look from my mom and said, and I quote him here, "It does not make sense to me that you spend a lot of money in buying indulgent food at the supermarket, consume it, and then go and spend money at the gym to get rid of it. How?" My ecstasy at working with a personal trainer soon faded. And I mean it literally. I fainted, completely blacked out on day 5 of my workout. And back on the phone with my mother to garner her sympathy, I whinged and whined about my toils at the gym. She had the same 3 words for me. Everything in moderation. I realized after all these years that yes, she was right. Everything done in moderation, without the excessiveness and without the restriction, brought about success, which in turn brought about contentment and happiness. On the contrary, restrictions or excessiveness just brought about stress, agitation, and discontent. The Swedish language has a word called laga. This cannot be directly translated to the English language. There is no direct word translation. It embodies a concept of a lifestyle rooted in balance. everything in moderation, equality, and balance. This is one of the reasons why the Swedes enjoy a consistent level of happiness, as Sweden is ranked one of the happiest countries in the world consistently, and they enjoy very high standards of sustainable living and a good work-life balance. So, Toastmasters, what about you and me? How do we achieve our lagam? Maybe you're spending too long at the office and you're not spending enough time with your family. Time to cut that down a little bit. Not a major, massive overhaul, but a tiny, small change with little bits and pieces over time. Maybe you're so worried about the calories in that yummy looking cake. Go on, eat it. Just make sure you don't eat the whole cake. Or maybe you're a couch potato and you'd like to take more interest in your activeness. Again, small and steady. This is what will bring it on. Make these changes and enjoy the calmness that it wash over you, the serenity that it offers to you and to your surroundings. Toastmasters, I urge you, lagam is the way forward. Not too much, not too little, just right. Thank you, and over to the TMOD.
Our second speaker for the day is a business management professional who may have bunked today's office to be a part of our session. His speeches will make you laugh till your tummy aches. Our club's designated humorous speaker and my mentor. Speaker number 2, Toastmaster Sam Cherian. His title for the day is 3 A's. 3 A's, Toastmaster Sam Cherian.
I walked up to the most beautiful woman in class and said, I'll marry you someday. She said, have you noticed the size of your contentment? It is probably the most notable feature about you. Fellow Toastmasters and guests from around the world, good afternoon from Muscat. Guess what? She married me. And guess what? We're still married. 27 years. 27 years of contentment. Would you like to play on the cricket team, Sam? My school captain asked me. Of course I would. Yeah, Fatso, carry the gear. I'll call you into play if somebody dies. Come to think of it, that's me. Okay, I just heard Toastmaster Hasnat talk about a diet. Story of my life. I've been trying to lose weight for 57 years. And tell you what, I am an inspired lifer. I don't even think I became everything my parents wanted to be. I don't even think I am what my son wants to be. But that's just me. Average. Just the average me. So I'm going to give you 3 A's. 3 A's that you can take straight to the bank. 3 A's that have inspired me. 3 A's that you and I can build our lives upon. First, acceptance. Acceptance. Oh, here's another inspirational speaker talking about accepting other people, race, color, creed, religion, ideology. No. It's not about accepting other people. It's about accepting yourself. Accepting myself. You are inevitably flawed and imperfect, but you and I are beautiful. The only person I have to finally deal with is me. The only person I always live with is me. So I had better get comfortable. So can I inspire you this afternoon to accept yourself the way you are? It doesn't matter. Okay, I've got a few extra pounds. Okay, it doesn't matter. I never got that cushy job. Okay, it doesn't matter. I am not a CEO. I sure did try. I'll give you an example. I was a fantastic science student, but I'm lousy at calculus. That's counterintuitive. It doesn't work that way. You can't be an exemplary student in physics and hopeless at calculus. Therefore, I said, this is me. This is average me. I accept me. I accept me. I am good. I am good enough to move on. My second A that you can take to the bank, aspire. You know, I walked into my first interview 30 years ago. I knew very well that I had failed the written exam. You're not getting this job, the HR manager told me. Then why did you call me? I asked him. In my head, I mean, you're not going to say things like that loud. He offered me the job, but at half the pay. I got up and I walked away. You aren't going to find a job in India, he told me. I found one in Muscat. Aspire, not just to make more, aspire to be more. Look at this COVID situation around us. I mean, there's been so much pain, so much hurt, so much of job losses, so much of economic contraction. But do you know, waking up, half the job is done. You just have to wake up, and then all you have to do is aspire. So accept yourself, aspire. Aspire not to have, aspire to be more. You and I are wonderfully and beautifully made. You and I are wonderfully and beautifully made. We're made perfect. And my third A that you can take to the bank, acknowledgement. Acknowledgement. It is said that our gratitude will determine our altitude. So I want you to do something for me this afternoon. In your little Zoom windows, I want you to stretch your arms out wide. Do this with me. Stretch your arms out wide. And virtually join hands. And this afternoon, let's acknowledge everybody who's made this possible. Let's acknowledge every health worker. Let's acknowledge every striving family. Let's acknowledge people who are putting their lives back together. Let's acknowledge every teacher who's struggling in front of an online session. Every child who doesn't go out to play but sits in front of a laptop. Acknowledge, because our attitude is going to determine our altitude. So fellow Toastmasters, I accept who I am. I aspire to be more than I have. And I acknowledge everyone who's on this journey. Toastmasters, accept, aspire, acknowledge. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Jesse Ainebiona, look back, then look ahead. Look back, then look ahead. Jesse Ainebiona.
If there was one word that you would use to describe the year 2020, what would it be? Toastmasters and guests, type that word in the chat, and I will ask the chat master to help me and read one or two responses in the chat right now. Someone says COVID. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. I just saw that on my screen. Unexpected. Thank you. I will take those two for now, and please keep them coming. It is no doubt that 2020 will go down in history as one of the most unprecedented, the most turbulent, and the most challenging years in our history. A year where we have experienced job loss, loss of lives, and even salary cuts. And yet, amidst all this, there is so much that we can be grateful for. The fact that I can see you all on the call right now is proof that you are still alive to this hour. I personally thank God for so much that has happened this year. I thank God that this has been a year to spend extended time with my family. I also thank God that I'm so grateful that this has been a year when I broke the shell and stepped out of my comfort zone to start my own YouTube channel. A channel that I started in May in the middle of the lockdown, and today it has grown to close to 360 subscribers. It has always been my long cherished dream. So as you can see, this has been, yes, it has been a challenging year, but there is still so much that we can be grateful for. And as we draw to the end of the year, it is a great time for us to look back, see where we have come from before we can look ahead. It is very clear when you're driving a car that in front of you, when you're on the steering, you have different mirrors and screens. You have the windscreen that helps you to keep focus on what is ahead. But you also have the rear view and the side mirrors to keep you focused on what is happening in the back. And so as we draw to the end of the year, it's a good time for us to look back in gratitude before we can look forward in hope. This is a good time to begin to think and plan about what the year 2020 has in stock for us. It is said there are three kinds of people. There are people who make things happen. There are people who watch things happen. And there are also people who wonder what is happening. When you take time to plan, when you take time to think about what is coming ahead, when you take time to begin to put down some resolutions on paper, you begin to get into the category of the people that are making things happen. And I would like to challenge you. Let us not get lost in the noise of New Year resolutions. Many times they are wish lists that simply disappear into thin air in the first 2 weeks of the year. Let us sit down and firmly resolve, firmly determine some things that we are going to work on in the year 2021. 2021 is going to be the first year for the rest of your life, and you can choose to make it the best part of your life. I want to urge you to sit down with yourself before the year ends and begin to think about some things that you would like to achieve, things that are going to help you to approach 2021 with hope, with optimism, with unwavering determination as you get into the year 2021. Yes, 2020 has had its challenges, but I believe that we can start 2021 with a bang. And this is the best time to get a head start. This is the time to look ahead and begin to set some targets, begin to set some plans in different areas of your life. Because I'll tell you something, if you do not take time to plan, you have already planned to fail. If all you aim at is nothing, you will achieve it with amazing accuracy. So I want to encourage you, I want to challenge you, I want to beseech you to take off some time and begin to ask yourself, what do you want to see in the year 2020? Begin with the end in mind. Begin to ask yourself some questions that are going to help you to soul search. Begin to ask yourself, what is it you'd want to see at the end of the year 2021? Because I believe, like Simon Sinek says, start with the why. When the why is clear, the how becomes possible. The how becomes easy, but it only gets easy when the why is clear. Don't sit back and relax. Let's make 2021 not only the best year, but the best year that starts the best part of your life. So Toastmasters and guests, if you're on the call today, you have been listening, you've been watching, I want to encourage you. Don't be among people that are going to wander and watch. Be among people that are going to make things happen. King Solomon wisely stated that my people perish for lack of vision. Now, what that simply means is that it may not mean that you will literally die and drop and stop breathing, but the enthusiasm, the passion, the zeal that comes with having a clear vision is what dies when we don't have a clear vision. Don't be among the people that what one would call the living dead, people that died at 20 and they are waiting to be buried at 60. No, resurrect your dreams, reignite them, revive them, recharge them, because I believe 2021 can be an amazing year in your life. Join me to make the rest of your life the best of your life. Back to you, Toastmaster.
PQD Anthony Wangandu with Christmas at the Countryside. Christmas at the Countryside, Anthony Wangandu.
Christmas is a time for food, family, and fellowship, and a large dose of fun. For a family, Christmas Day begins the day before Christmas. And for someone like myself, born and brought up in the big bad city of Nairobi, the promise of going up country is always one that I look forward to. Last year, like the years before, we headed up country to my grandmother's place, Shags, as we affectionately call it. And on arrival, duties were shelled out for everybody. For the older gentlemen, 2 fat, juicy goats were pointed out to us. For the young men, the drinks duty was assigned to them. And for the culinary inclined ladies of the family, they took over the food service. Sleeping arrangements were made, with all the children spending the night at my grandmother's home. For us, the older ones, we were to fend for ourselves. I can tell you, thank God for Airbnbs. Christmas Day arrives and the sun is shining, the birds are chirping in the sky. And when I got to Grandma's place, I joined the older gentlemen who were expertly slicing up the goats and putting it out on the grill, ready for the day. I had the most distinct duty of ensuring that the drinks flowed from the younger gentlemen to the gray heads that were busy roasting the meat, a very important job, in my opinion. Behind me, I could hear the ladies chattering away at the makeshift kitchen that was underneath a big shady tree. The smell of sweet, succulent chapatis and other delicacies assailed my nostrils, and my mouth watered with the promise of the feast that was to come. Take a bite of this, my uncle said, and I took a bite of delicately roasted meat of those formerly fat goats. Heavenly, I said, with a gleeful feeling in my heart. Soon it was time to eat, and we arranged ourselves around a large outdoor table. And at exactly 1 o'clock, my grandmother stood up and silence fell in the gathering. Even my daughter, who was a designated DJ for the day, playing for us beautiful melodious holiday music, remembered to pause it. And my grandmother, in a regal fashion, lifted her hands and blessed the delicious spread in front of us. Thanks God for the family gathered, and hoped that the conversation around the table will be edifying not only to the group and to the family. What a lovely meal we had. As the afternoon cooled, another great family tradition began to fold out. Every member of the family, young and old, took their turn to stand up and introduce themselves, say how connected they were to my grandmother, and then share one wonderful thing that had happened during the year and their hopes for the coming year.
when it was my turn, I was happy to inform the gathered crowd that 2020 was going to be my year in Paris. That, of course, is now a story for another day. It was beautiful to hear everybody share what they had had during the year and all the things they were hoping for in 2020. At the end of the day, my grandmother asked me to pray in closing. And I hope that I'm not the one who jinxed 2020 for everybody else. It is always interesting to listen to people when they look back at the year that has passed. And when they look forward to the things that they hope for. It reminds me that we all are in this same ship that we call life. And that all that happens to us is a blessing that we should celebrate. Christmas is a time for food, for family, for fellowship, and a large dose of fun. How is your Christmas? Is it as wonderful as mine is? I hope that it is. And therefore, I wish all of you from around the world the happiest of holidays this 2020 and a fantastic 2021. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Her title is Transforming Ordinary to Extraordinary. Gladys Muhonyo. Gladys Muhonyo, Transforming Ordinary to Extraordinary. Take it away.
October 22nd, 2016 at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon is the date that Toastmasters landed in Nakuru town. It was meeting number 1 of Nakuru Toastmasters clubs. Toastmasters around the world, today is meeting number 100. We are now set as Toastmasters in Nakuru Toastmasters Club to move from ordinary to extraordinary. Join me as I narrate to you how you and I can transform ourselves through our Toastmasters journey in 4 letters. S-O-A-R. Say SOAR. Can you say SOAR with me? SOAR. Yes, S is for speaking. When you have been given an opportunity to speak in Toastmasters, you find your words, you get feedback, you add your vocal variety and gestures. You know what? That's ordinary. Let's put on our specialization hats. Mine is persuasive influence. I have done motivational strategies. Are you a information planner? Your specialization hat makes you extra. But how do you put the ordinary on the extra? Then you remember that Toastmasters is where leaders are made. You don't just speak and simmer. You soar and go out of Toastmasters and share your specialization. Go forth, sit at the table of your area of specialization. Network extraordinarily. Show the sizzle in your speech and soar. Can you say S for soar? S for soar. Thank you. Let's go to O. O is for organize. You have been a Toastmaster of the day. You have been a table topics master. You've organized an event of your club. You've arranged systematically, done time management, and been evaluated and been ordinary as a Toastmaster. Let me tell you, it's time to transform you, to make scripts that work. Area directors, division directors, regional directors, GEs, Toastmasters of the Day presidents, you have scripts that you have used. You transform these scripts so that your flow of process can run smoothly. And you know what? When a team of people is running with high level scripting of meetings, you make an orchestra. Yes, a methodical meeting that is run outside of Toastmasters. Your engineering convention, your medical conventions, your writers' conventions should be run in an orchestrated Toastmasters way, making Nakuru and your club soar. O is for soar. O is for orchestrates your meeting. Let's go to the second letter, which is A. I can see 116 of you have appeared in this meeting. Your presence as a Toastmaster is ordinary. You only make sure that you're ready. Transform yourself by getting an appeal in your ordinary. Appeal to other members to join. Appeal them by sharing your why. Appeal to them by sharing the benefits of a 24-hour Toastmaster meeting. Tell them to come on board. If you're a guest in this meeting, I'm telling you, you're in the right space. I appeal to you to join Nakuru Toastmasters meeting or any other club in your meeting. And when you do so, we'll become extraordinary because we shall applaud you. Let's applaud every 117 members in the room. Applaud those who are leading the way. Applaud those outside of Toastmasters who are exemplary and showing skills. And when they see you applauding them, they'll ask you, how do you learn how to applaud? Tell them to join Toastmasters. Let's celebrate ourselves and get all those celebrating outside inside this party, because meeting number 100 of Toastmasters Nakuru, we are A, applauding. Say A for applaud.
A out for applaud.
And finally, we recognize your individual potential. We recognize the potential of Nakuru Toastmasters to soar. We recognize the potential of Toastmasters around the world making leaders. We represent ourselves in our areas of work, in our families. We transform ourselves by releasing ourselves to the world. We are free to become innovators and creators of leadership in a world that so richly needs good leaders. Toastmasters in Nakuru and around the world specialize, orchestrate, applaud, and release your leadership skill in the world. You are called to soar. The eagle soars around the clouds. The eagles do not wait for the storm. You are in a storm of COVID. You have to rise above and soar. Speak your story. Appeal to others. Register your presence by coming on board. Organize and orchestrate your meetings. Release your leadership skills to the world and soar. Back to you, Mr. TM.
Now, Michael Cronin with a speech entitled The Reluctant Leader. The Reluctant Leader, Michael Cronin, please. Hello, Michael, can you hear me?
I can indeed. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. One of the great advantages of being involved in Toastmasters is not alone do you learn to improve your speaking skills, but also you get to learn and develop your leadership skills. You can do this at club level, area, division, or district. But I find the great challenge is the skills you learn to Toastmasters is to take them out and use them in the community. Now, I'm the type of person who would shy away from role. I'd rather be told what to do than to take the lead myself. But on occasions, I try and take myself out of my comfort zone and and try and do something different and get involved with different roles in the community. So recently, I decided to take up one of these roles. After one of our local lockdowns, it was decided people could go back to their church and their place of worship. And I was asked, would I be a steward at the church? Just to help people to get back into the routine of the new system so that we could all be safe. Now, I was a bit nervous at the start taking up this role because the Irish people, they don't like being told what to do. I think it's a throwback to our history, as we been under foreign occupation for so many years. So we dislike being told what to do. But there was something in our favour, something in my favour. Now, in Ireland, if you wear a certain item of clothing, you are bestowed with a great sense of authority and leadership. And this item I will now show you. Now, this in Ireland gives you great power. The high visibility yellow jacket. Now, this means you can stop traffic, direct traffic. People start to look up to you. So you will see people at football matches, at funerals, at ploughing matches, and other events, and people take note of you. So my first night at the church, when I was going to be taking up this role, I was assuming that I would get my high visibility yellow jacket, but it didn't materialize. But instead, we got this. Now, as you can see, I went being from a figure of authority to a figure of amusement. As people started to come into the church, they were bent over laughing, looking at me. They thought, some people thought was I a visiting village chief from Uzbekistan, and all I needed to complete my look was a bunch of medals on my lapel. Other people were saying, thank God it's not people weren't driving horses anymore, because they would have been after going to the hills. But the only thing for me was that my bum looked terribly big in it. But aside from that, I carried on. I learned all the skills I did as a Sergeant at Arms in Toastmasters, and I decided I would be pleasant and welcoming to everyone that attended the church that day. And it worked away fine. But as I'm a mischievous person, I couldn't help myself but to start to have a bit of fun as time went on. So on occasions, I would pull a person aside and I say, gee, Margaret, you don't look well tonight. I don't know, can we let you in or not? We'll have a look at you there at the side and stuff and things like that. And also one night, this cracking looking lady started to arrive into the church, and I said, how am I going to get to know her? So I said, I chanced my arm and I decided I'd ask her her ID. And what would you know? She believed me and she gave me her ID, and I was able to see her name. Now, it was a bit strange actually, as everyone else was going to church trying to save their souls. I was at the door trying to commit the sin of lust. No, it worked away fine over the coming weeks. The only problem that was turning up was it was another Irish problem. People never want to go to the front of the church or the front of a meeting. The only place where the Irish will go to the front is to the bar in the pub. So you can imagine a big heap of people inside the door who don't want to move, and you're there trying to gently encourage them to get them to move up along the church. And there was two gentlemen in their 80s who've always sat inside the bench inside the back door. They've been there for 70 years, I'd say. Every Sunday they always sit there. But now the seating arrangements are changed. So instead of the bench being able to take two, it was only able to take one. And what would you believe it? They both thought they should be allowed sit there. And I couldn't believe it when I saw the two boys getting thick with each other over who had the right to sit there. And they started waving their fists at each other, and another fellow was showing his stick at the other guy. Well, I don't know, but I think my guardian angel was looking after me, because I just saw the confession box alongside him, and I rushed in and pulled out the priest's chair and put it down 2 meters away from the other fella, and the other guy sat down, and everything was happy. So I continued the role for 6 weeks, and then out of the blue, I was let go. I was relieved of my duties. I couldn't understand for a while, but then I was told that I was flirting too much with the older ladies, and that I was leading away from the path of righteousness. So, fellow Toastmasters, as you can see, my style of leadership, my style of leadership is one that leads me into trouble. Mr. Toastmaster.
Yeah, Saoirse Enright, Amor Fati Love of Faith, Saoirse Enright. Thank you, Saoirse.
Good afternoon, Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters and esteemed guests. I'm delighted to be here with you today on this auspicious occasion, the presentation of my very first Toastmasters speech, which I have uncharacteristically taken on as a toast to myself. It was Mother's Day, Sunday the 22nd of March, 1998, when I entered this world, a felicitous arrival indeed. However, I can confidently assume that my local junior infants teacher, Mrs. Manelli, did not have the same appreciation for my classroom arrival each morning, as I would burst into a flood of tears at the sight of my mother waving me off. And by God, I can assure you, I would be scolded for it later that evening. Now, in my defence, I was just 4 years old starting primary school, and I am a lonely child. Well, that's what I used to tell the class when asked to share what I had written on my Tell Me About Yourself worksheet. Yes, it wasn't until I was in about 4th class that I realised with overwhelming mortification that I am an only child and not a lonely child. If parental attachment issues evidenced in my early childhood were my only grapple, I would not be here with you today. When I began my studies as a law student in UL at the young age of 17, I subconsciously set off on a voyage of self-discovery. I became acutely aware of my sense of insecurity and fear of failing, despite my Trojan work ethic and affable manner, if I do say so myself. I believe this is an innate aspect of my type A personality. Yes, I am competitive, extremely self-critical. I strive towards goals without feeling a sense of joy in my efforts or accomplishments. I have inherited a life in balance and allow my head to be filled with irrational worries that most of you would think inconceivable. And yes, you are right. I am brutally honest. I reached the pinnacle of this self-realization when I reached a crossroads in year 3 of my studies at UL. My peers became cutthroat and conniving as interviews for an 8-month mandatory work placement loomed. The university would set up interviews, and the first job you were offered, you had to accept. Those were the rules. Chinese whispers took hold of floor 2 of the Glucksman. Mary pulled a sickie for her first interview with GCAS because her father was friends with Tom, the managing partner of A&L Goodbody in Dublin, and she was sure to be offered a position. I soon learned that a certain personality landed these positions. Did I mention cutthroat? I admit, I appear envious. Thankfully, I now view this chapter of my life as a blessing in disguise. I myself landed several interviews with companies and firms, including Ronan Daly German, the ESB, and Keating Conley Sellers. I had the grades, letters of academic excellence, voluntary experience. I was a class representative. I worked part-time on weekends, and I even had some experience in a local solicitor's office. But no joy. Nevertheless, I used my initiative. I called on some connections and I got the opportunity to work in a small-scale general practice in Limerick, but I still felt like a failure. However, there was a lesson to be learned, and what was once a calamitous situation for 19-year-old me got me thinking, what really is my dream job? Did I really want to be a solicitor, or did I have another calling in the legal sphere? Since then, I have received a scholarship to extern in the Los Angeles Federal and District Courts, where I unexpectedly met Katy Perry. Yes, Katy Perry. She was due before the court for a copyright mishap, if you wouldn't mind. I received both a first-class honours Bachelor of Laws and Master of Laws degree. I received invaluable experience working in Pierce Fitzgibbon Solicitors, where I have made connections with people who will always take an interest in my work. I also received a PhD scholarship to pursue my love of legal research and writing in the area of constitutional law, but above all, I have come to love my fate and understand the importance of practicing amor fati, that is, living in the now and accepting that we can't have a rainbow without rain, because you can start out with nothing, and out of nothing and out of no way, a way will be made. Or as the lovely Bill O'Flynn, my boyfriend of 5 years, who is a fine exemplar of someone with an instilled love of fate, says, Sirt, que sera, sera. Now I leave you with a toast to myself. You're doing great, Saoirse. The world is your oyster. Continue to find your pearls.
Thank you, Joe. So Ashley Tobin with a speech entitled Sing Your Own Song, Ashley Tobin. Come in, Ashley. Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Can you see me? And I can hear you clearly too.
Very good. That's great. Ready to go. It's a funny old world, isn't it? Mr. Chairperson, fellow Toastmasters and guests. That's the question my 87-year-old mother put to me the other day. It's a question she has posed many times throughout my life. And my response today is much the same as it was over 40 years ago when I answered as a teen. Come with me now, will you, back into Ireland in the late 1970s. I was a teenager then, a quiet girl who said little but noticed a lot. The world was a very different place then. Oh, it was funny, all right, funny peculiar, for the girl who had so many questions and answers that didn't satisfy. Questions like, why did men take their hats off going into Mass, but the women had to cover their heads? And why was the teacher so mean to the poor kids at school? And how come women earned so much less, despite doing the same job as the men? And how come no one wanted to answer my questions about the laundry in town? Oh, it was enough to drive a young girl mad. Always wondering, always coming up short. Move along with me now into the 80s. Ireland, a time when people knew their place and were expected to stay there. The economic recession meant we were all supposed to be practical, pragmatic, and patient. I, it turns out, am none of these things, and in my 20s I grew bored of being sensible and fed up with being good. I wanted more. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever wanted more? Maybe you got a glimpse of it, something in your future that you knew. You just knew. Or maybe you felt the pull of something. Or maybe you heard the call to adventure, a quiet little voice inside urging you to sing a different song. Have you had it? The invitation? When I was nursing in my 20s, I had the privilege to spend time with men and women before they left this world. One woman in particular spoke to my soul. Picture this. It's 3 a.m. I'm on night duty. The corridors are quiet, apart from the sound of my footsteps on the old tiled floor. I slipped into this woman's room and sat on the bed with her to hold her hand. Her thin, frail body tucked up tightly between crisp white hospital sheets. Her face content. And then she spoke. She said, the world wants us to dance its dance and play its tune, but we need to remember to sing our own song. Whatever you do, Ashley, sing your own song. A short while later, I left in the middle of a recession. My practical, pragmatic, permanent, pensionable job, in search of more. And the people who knew where my place had been, they said, funny girl, funny peculiar. Sometimes the people closest to us, they want us to sing their song. It's because they care or because they're scared. My father was a very satisfied man. If you asked him how he was, he'd say, I'm above ground. I'm doing better than some today. I, on the other hand, was far less easily satisfied. I wanted more, much more than just above ground. I wanted the things that sensible folk, they called nonsense. I wanted to feel alive in my everyday. I wanted to work with purpose and passion and to see the extraordinary in ordinary. I wanted to sing my song. And I ask you today, do you sing your song? My leap of faith, it led to adventures and dreams come true. But before you imagine sunset walks on the beach, let me caution you, because adventures are made up of thrills and fun, but they're also made of terror and villains and trolls and scary things that seem impossible to overcome. It's a funny old world, all right. Funny, peculiar, because it is filled with thrills and terror and purpose and pain. And I'm reminded of the words of the poem by Mary Oliver. What is it you plan with your one wild and precious life? Let me tell you what a dying woman once told me. Sing your own song. Don't let it die unsung. Thank you.
Right. So the stage is yours, Sibeli. Good luck.
Why is diversity important? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. I feel really grateful for being here today to give my speech to you. We all know that every company has an important social role, right? In a society with so many cultural differences, it is important that organizations develop a mature behavior to face those differences. Diversity in the work environment is a factor that deserves a lot of attention and that can generate a number of benefits if you develop a good approach to that. What does diversity mean in the workplace? Our society is highly diverse. There are various ethnicities, people with disability, LGBTQIA+, men, women, nationalities, so it is not possible to close our eyes to these varieties. It is necessary to accept professionals as they are and encourage learning with differences. Diversity in the work environment means the organization's development of a mature behavior in the face of the plurality of our society. It means welcoming employees and their differences and supporting inclusion and tolerance of cultural differences. What is the importance of diversity in the organization, you must be asking? I'll give you 5 reasons for that. The first one, to achieve better results. Because the work environment is cooperative, stimulating, and welcoming. So employees feel more motivated and engaged to carry out their activities. Everyone works better and more effectively. For example, according to McKinsey, companies with high rate of racial diversity are 35% more likely to achieve above average results in the industry. The second reason, conflict reductions. In organizations where there is a culture of respect for diversity, conflicts are less recurrent. The policy of respect and tolerance stimulates the ability to listen and seek for agreements of professionals. The third reason, decreased turnover. When there is a lot of exclusion in a team due to difficulties to deal with differences, it is common that some team members prefer to quit their jobs. Intolerant teams tend to have a high turnover rate because professionals do not realize exclusion. With a diverse group that welcomes differences, employees feel much safer and more welcomed, and it contributes to a sense of belonging. That said, the turnover rate is much smaller in the company. The fourth reason, to increase creativity in the environment. In an environment that values differences and places diversity as an element that adds to the business, employees feel that they have more freedom to have authenticity at work. It also provides conditions for new ideas to circulate among the team. Professionals are more engaged and creative, ready to unleash their potential. And the fifth reason is to improve the company image. A corporation that values diversity is fulfilling its social role. It is a posture of responsibility towards society. And learning about differences that employees have in the company is widespread in a social environment by professionals themselves. When they go out to other spaces, they reproduce the learning about the differences inside the company, and they become example for other people. Now you must be asking, but how do I foster and encourage diversity and inclusion within company? By creating inclusion programs, for example. As they are a great alternative to promote employee engagement. Many professionals defend the cause, but they do not find room in their common jobs to demonstrate that. With affinity groups or even programs, the organization has only to gain. These collectives can strengthen the relationship between employees, increase the sense of belonging, and can also be a space for productive debates that can help the company to have, to promote continuous improvement. Another way to foster diversity is making volunteer programs, as they can be an excellent factor in contributing to a policy of acceptance of diversity in the workplace. The accomplishment of these actions enables interactions with different groups in a context outside the company. Additionally, your team has the opportunity to develop features such as empathy and respect. Volunteer programs can also be a very positive experience for the relationship between the professionals, strengthening the sense of team and acceptance of each individual's differences. Diversity in the work environment is key to a learning about respect and tolerance, but it also favors processes, improving team interaction, increasing the quality of life, and stimulating acceptance among peers. Teams that bet on this learning have a number of benefits, as already mentioned, such as better results and greater cooperativity. Now I think that we all know why diversity is important. But what about you? Would you like to be in a more diverse and inclusive environment? Thank you.
Minutes. Welcome, Angel.
Thank you, Stephen, for the warming welcome, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here speaking in this very important day with you. And I'd like to start asking all of you some questions in order to reflect a little bit. Do you know that according to the United Nations, every year we dump more than 2 billion tons of waste? It accounts for around 270 tons per person. Do you know that we are throwing in the ocean 1 load truck of plastic per minute? In that rate, by 2050, it will exist more plastic in the ocean than fish. This stunning amount of waste is partly because 99% of the stuff we buy is trashed within 6 months. These facts are the results of two connected things. First, our economic system and our behavior. Let's talk about the first one, the economic system. Its main pillar is the production system, and it has been developed based in a format of linear production, characterized by the take, make, and waste. And when we add the ruthless stimulus that we receive every moment to consume and buy things that in many cases we don't even have the real necessity to buy them, we have a recipe for our own extinction and many other species. We can question ourselves why there is such pressure for consumption every moment and everywhere. I will give you a quick and broad answer. Growth. Everything is measured by how much growth it has experienced in the last period of analysis. For countries, GDP, to companies, revenue. And furthermore, we also look by how much it's forecasted to grow in the next period. We are not satisfied with the previous one. We are always trying to get more and more and more. But has anyone ever wondered if it is possible to our economy grow forever? Or does anyone know something that can grow forever? Particularly, I don't know. At the same time, we are worried by the growth of everything, especially the monetary one. And we take for granted many natural resources, including those essential for life, like clean water and pure air. We are consuming our natural resources at the rate of 1.8 times the capacity that Earth can regenerate itself, just to meet the growth targets. But we easily forget that we are almost destroying our planet by doing this. Do you think that is correct? Or is it the right thing to do? All of this happens because we are stuck in the old and simplistic economic model of production and consumption. But how can we find a way out of this trap? First, we need to free ourselves of the preconception that is taught to us and question the status quo. I mean, our behavior. Second, we should search for alternatives to replace our system, our economic system. And for that, we have a huge source of knowledge and information, the Mother Nature. Yes, the same that we are destroying. The Mother Nature histories got tangled with the Earth itself. It has been evolving throughout the time. We just need to observe and get inspired by. Doing this, we discovered that in nature, the end of something is the beginning of something else. Nothing is lost. Everything is connected. Once we realize this, it becomes clear that we are doing exactly the opposite. we are not connecting the end with the beginning. We are not going circular. Our production system is extracting natural resources and adding value throughout the chain until get to the consumer, who, after consuming it in an astonishing rate, simply throw away in the landfills. The value that was added now is lost. To solve this problem, the concept of circular economy was created. It basically tries to keep the value of something at the maximum, being through repair, reuse, refurbish, remanufacture, and recycle. Some examples of this model include, well, instead of buying a new blender, why don't you try to repair our old one? Why don't we design products in order to enable them to be refurbished or remanufactured or recycled? And why do not source for renewable and recycled materials as input for production instead of just go in the nature and extract raw materials? Doing this, we open a wide variety of opportunities for new business, new jobs, and the best. We reduce the pressure on the nature and its extremely important resources to life. Allied with this new production model, we also need to change our consumption behavior. I know that it's hard to do, but if we ask ourselves before each purchase, if we really need something and what impact it has in the nature, we can do better choice and start to reshape our consumption behavior. First step forward is to bear in mind the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle, specifically in this order. And the second step is to act in favor to transform our linear production into circular production. To conclude, I invite all of you to observe and get inspired by who has created us. Go circular and rethink your daily habits. And finally, I want to say that I'm very grateful for this planet, this house, our home. Let's preserve our home. It's the only one that we have. Join with me in this journey into circular economy. Thank you very much.
And with a grateful heart, I am welcoming Joel Cartiel.
To lead volunteers is a very different thing than leading in a normal company. I don't know if any one of you had the experience before to lead volunteers inside Toastmasters, outside Toastmasters. I can tell you it's something completely different, but it takes you for life. Fellow Toastmasters, honorable guests on holidays around the world, my name is João Cartiel, and I just have passed through a wonderful experience about leading a volunteer team. But let's go back almost a year ago. A big colleague of mine called me and said, João, let's start a new business. Why not do we put our efforts, our knowledge about communication, leadership, we have tons of experience on that. Why not we start something together? And I say, you know what? I'll buy it. And then we passed